this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. The White House is blocking the release of President Biden's special counsel interview audio. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
The president has asserted executive privilege over the audio recording of his interview with special counsel Robert Hur about the handling of classified documents. In a letter to GOP lawmakers, the White House counsel says there's no legitimate purpose for Congress to obtain the audio. The special counsel decided against prosecuting the president for keeping sensitive files, but he also embarrassed the 81-year-old Biden by portraying him as an elderly man with poor memory. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Dr. Michael Oren, says the Biden administration continues to send double messages about its support for Israel in its war against Hamas.
They're trying to walk back in various ways, the suspension of arms, rushing $1 billion worth of arms to us, saying that the artillery shells, they're going to give us the artillery shells, but they can't be used in Rafah. There's going to be a certain artillery shell that can be marked for use elsewhere in Gaza or up north, but not in Rafah.
Dr. Oren was interviewed on the Salem Radio Network. Severe weather expected in parts of Texas this afternoon and evening. Jared Geyer, forecaster with the Storm Prediction Center, says Texas is expected to get the worst of the weather Thursday in the U.S.
The sizable part of central and east Texas is kind of where the main threat is focused. Some of the severe storms could even make their way into Louisiana and lower Mississippi Valley areas later tonight.
Central and northern Florida are under a severe thunderstorm watch today. The Carolinas could also see some severe weather. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 38 points. The Nasdaq dropped 44. The S&P 500 lower by 11. Oil up 60 cents to $79.23 a barrel. More at townhall.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-355-4107 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-355-4107. That's 800-355-4107. What do you have to lose? Call 800-355-4107. Again, 800-355-4107.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
The stocks fell after the Dow Jones Industrial Average briefly topped the 40,000 level for the very first time. All three indexes set records on Wednesday amid revived hopes that cooling inflation will allow the Federal Reserve to cut its main interest rate sometime this year. Walmart was one of the strongest forces propping up the market after it reported stronger profit for the latest quarter than was expected. The Dow is down 38 points, closing at 39,869. The Nasdaq lost 44 to 16,698. The S&P 500 dropped 11 points to 52.97. New York oil rose 60 cents to $79.23 per barrel. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and comfy this evening with a low of 63. Tomorrow, a blend of sun and clouds much of the day with some late afternoon showers possible. The weekend could be a soaking. 70% chance we get storms on Saturday and an isolated chance of rain on Sunday. Weekend highs in the low 80s. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. Ooh, I like when you press that one.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen.
Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk Media Network. Big Thursday night for you as we come to you from along the coast, over in Sardis, and, of course, back in Columbia. Josh Cohen holding things down for us there and taking your phone calls at 888-898-2525. I've come down to the coast, got a little event taking place this weekend, so I'll be off tomorrow night. It'll all be Bergies tomorrow from the Bergie Palace in Sardis. I know you are chomping at the bit to handle everything, and I'll be more than happy to give it to you.
I actually had, speaking of you having an event this weekend, I had a source close to me wanted me to ask you tonight about your football playing days under Eddie Rice.
Ha! Well, I saw your text. And, I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke. To be completely honest, I didn't play football after the 9th grade. Somehow I was convinced I was going to be a basketball and baseball player. So I was 145 pounds and figured that I'd get crushed out there. So really regret it, though. It's the only thing that I regret not continuing to play football in high school because I know how much fun football is and what it can do for you. So anything anybody told you about that would be a bold-faced lie.
So the 4th and 6 drop in the playoffs was inaccurate?
That was not me. We did have that happen. We did have that happen against Lakeview, if that's what I think it was Lakeview, it may be Johnsonville, if that's what your source was talking about. But no, that was not me. That was, unfortunately, somebody else. I would have dropped it, probably, had I, been in the game. I probably would have dropped it. But no, it did not involve me. So
all right, fair enough. I'm glad to get the record straight.
I would cut that source of yours.
Yeah,
I would cut that.
Well, he's a mutual
yours.
Source of ours, so you take it for what it's worth.
Hey, how about our man Joe Cashin, longtime voice of Coastal Carolina, announcing today that he is retiring from that position.
Yeah, really interesting situation with Joe. I knew this was coming. He had talked with us on the broadcast team that he was considering even before this season began that this might be his last year doing football. He's been with the Coastal football program and the radio crew since football's inception at CCU. So he's been around a long, long time, 21 years, and figured, I guess, what better way to go out than with the Hawaii Bowl? I mean, it's really difficult to top a trip to Honolulu. So he is hanging up the microphone after a very, very solid career at CCU.
Well, I tell you, think the world of Joe, not just his play-by-play, but his history, his background. Many may not know he's a veteran. He did a tour, multiple tours of Afghanistan, Iraq, whatever the case may be. I don't know exactly. I don't want to date him into a particular war, but he's a doggone lot braver than some of us are. And he continued his career in the South Carolina National Guard and rising up the ranks there. So I thank him for his service. I congratulate him on his service and also congratulate him on a terrific broadcasting career. A great guy, a good friend of ours. And who knows who might step into those shoes for the 2024 season, Mr. Bergen.
I would certainly enjoy that opportunity. That is out of my pay grade, but that is certainly something I would enjoy. I've been working with Coastal Football. I went back to double check. Since 2016, I've actually been broadcasting for CCU since 2007. I had not realized until I ran across my resume a couple of days ago, just cleaning out some stuff in the computer, and I was like, holy cow. I did not realize it had been that long since I stopped doing PC and started working with Coastal. And so, yeah, I would certainly, do you want to talk about big shoes to fill? Joe had them sitting in to fill in for Matt Hogue, and whomever comes in after Cashin will have to fill in for those two guys. So, yeah, definitely not an easy thing. And I've actually filled in for Joe on a couple of occasions. When I got my start working with football was when Joe was on his tour over in the Middle East. And my first game, I think, on the sidelines that year with Matt still doing play-by-play was at West Virginia. I got to go to Morgantown, which was pretty cool. And then during the 1,000-year flood, I believe it was, when Joe and the South Carolina National Guard were called up to handle traffic and, closing off roads and the whole 9 yards, Coastal actually bumped a game. It may have been actually a hurricane coming through. I can't remember which, but they were supposed to play Campbell on a Saturday afternoon in Conway. They moved that game to a Wednesday, and actually it was played in Bowie's Creek. Well, Joe couldn't go because the South Carolina National Guard and his unit had been activated. So Lane Harris, who does a remarkably good job with the color, he and I went up to up there to Bowie's Creek for a rare Wednesday afternoon college football matinee. And so that was a lot of fun.
I bet.
So it was a little different, that's for sure.
Well, listen, whatever works out, hope it works out for the best for you. That's a great job. That is a great job, no question about it, because that's a growing program. But here we go again, another big name veteran associated with Coastal Athletics stepping out after this school year. We've seen started with Gilly, and then Cliff Ellis, and then Matt Hogue, and now Joe Cashin. Am I missing anybody?
No, I don't believe so. I think that's it in terms of retirements within the athletic department. And I guess you can lump in Joe Moglia, too, who's going to make a transition out of his football role the same time that Matt makes his transition over into the broadcast teaching realm of his career. So, yeah, they've had quite the turnover. And Matt was joking about me being the only one still left. There are still a few of us old veterans, if you will. Mm-hmm. I'm not the oldest one still left. But, it is a era of change in Conway for sure.
Well, you're gaining on being the oldest one. You're getting there. Hang in there long enough, and you will be the oldest one. Good luck. Hope it goes well. They could not do better than you. I will say that. They could not do better than you, and makes sense. You're the voice of Chanticleer basketball. Why not? It just depends on the philosophy. Some schools don't like having one person doing football and basketball. Some schools do like having one person doing football and basketball. So as long as it doesn't impact you in sports talk, I'm all for it. So,
well, I just don't want from a selfish standpoint, our radio broadcast team, I was joking with Joe when we found out that a couple of weeks back, that he officially was going to step away. I said, you can't break up the Fantastic Four. Because I've always felt like we have a very, very strong broadcast team. Joe and Lane in the booth, Joe Katz, who does Coastal Baseball, he's the on-site producer, and I was down on the field. And we all got along extremely well, and I thought it was a seamless broadcast. So hopefully we'll be able to maintain, at least with Joe out of the mix, hopefully we'll still be able to maintain the majority of that team together, because I think it works really well.
Oh, you guys do a great job.
And that's enough of me patting myself in a group on the back.
No, y'all do a great job. I've heard you. You do a great job, and I hope it goes your way. All right, phone number 888-898-2525. Hello, Clemson.
Yeah, wake-up call. Game has started.
You might say the Tigers have them right where they want them.
No doubt.
Considering how they like to come from behind. Boston College still batting in the top of the first. They've put 5 on the board. 3 hits and 2 errors on Clemson. Wake up. Wake up, Tigers. You're down to the worst team in the ACC, or one of the worst. And they've got a 3-run homer in the inning. They've got an unearned run scored, and they've got a run off of a single. So 5-0. Boston College starting for Clemson today, Darden. And, boy, I tell you what, he's not long for this game. If he doesn't pick it up, though his defense didn't help him. Yeah. Only one of those runs is earned. Yeah, 5 runs, 1 is earned. Still goes on the board as 5 runs, though. So
right.
And they're still batting top of the first. 2 are away. South Carolina, Tennessee getting underway at 6:30. Gamecocks have inserted Talmadge LeCroy back in the lineup at shortstop. And Cassis has gone back to third, and Petrie is back at first tonight. So they're going with the more offensive lineup. And they've got Brindling leading off, followed by Petrie, Jackson in right, Messina behind the plate, Nolan at second, Jones in left, Reeves DHing, LeCroy at short, Cassis at third, and then Ty Good on the mound tonight. So they had Tippett at shortstop there for a couple of games, playing defense, and that allowed them to take Cassis, put him back at first, put Petrie back in the outfield, but they're going to go with LeCroy at short tonight, and I guess they feel like his bat is going to be necessary against this potent Tennessee offense tonight, an offense that averages 9.5 runs per game.
Well, and this is the lineup that Mark Kingston went with during the Kentucky series. Pretty much the same batting order. You can flip-flop Blake Jackson and Parker Nolan. Nolan has not swung it all that well here of late, hoping to get him out of it, and they need him to sitting there in the middle of the order. But this is that offense that scored 9-10 runs a ball game. I mean, this is clearly their best offensive hopes in terms of their 9. Tippett probably gives him a little bit better defense, but when you put him in, then you've got to move some guys around as well so he can get his glove in there. And I think from an offensive standpoint, this is the group they've got to run with.
Okay, Coastal Carolina underway in the top of the first, playing at Marshall. Chanticleers have the bases loaded with 1 out in a scoreless game. Obviously a game that they need to win in the worst way. And the College of Charleston looking to get to 40 wins. They'll be right around 40 wins if they take care of business this weekend. They're up on Elon 13-9 in the bottom of the 7th. So, but we've seen Charleston blow bigger leads here recently. So we're not going to count this one in the win column yet. There's still some baseball to be played. Looks like Sing Sanks having another good day for the Cougars. Taking a look at some of their numbers. They've hit a couple of home runs. One by Sing Sank, who's also got a total of 3 RBIs on the game thus far, 17 hits for the Cougars. So they are rounding into shape. But again, we all know for them it's going to boil down to that CAA tournament at Wilmington next week.
Well, it was interesting when we had Chad Holbrook on, I think it was last week, and he was lobbying, sort of pulling a Brad Brownell, lobbying for the CAA to get more than just one team in. He'd like to see both his team, obviously, and then UNC Wilmington, he believes, and I agree with him. I think they both deserve an opportunity to play in the postseason. But if you watched the projections that came out yesterday, D1 Baseball, Baseball America, neither one of them, I know D1 Baseball, I didn't scrutinize the Baseball America one closely enough, but neither one of them, I don't think, put 2 in. And D1 Baseball actually had UNC Wilmington in over the college. So it's going to boil down to next weekend for, I think, both of those teams. Whoever wins that tournament gets in. What you don't want to see happen if you're the CAA is to have some 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seed run through and win it, and then have realistically no shot to perform well in the NCAA tournament. These are your 2 best teams. You got to find a way to get them into the postseason.
Yeah. North Greenville getting underway with their game against Georgia College and State University in the Southeast Regional of the NCAA Division II tournament. That game is just getting underway up in Tigerville. So we'll keep you up to date on the score of that one as Landon Powell tries to get his team back to the Division II World Series. Of course, they won the national championship a couple of years ago. We'll keep an eye on that. Mentioned the College of Charleston. Don't count it yet. They've given up a couple of runs here in the bottom of the 7th, so it's 13-10 as they play in the top of the 8th. Let's turn our attention to the PGA Championship, where the scores today in the opening round at Valhalla, at least by one guy, has been really, really, really good. Xander Schauffele goes out and shoots a 62. That's 9 under par, and he has the lead by 3 shots over Tony Finau and Sahith Theegala. There at 6 under after a 65. And here's Rory McIlroy. I told you, considering his personal troubles, that he would be well focused in this tournament. For him, a good start. A 5 under 66 puts him in a tie for 4th with Robert McIntyre. Also, Ben Coles is at -4, and Brooks Koepka -467, and also Taylor Moore 4 under 67. Tom Kim on the course at 4 under, along with Thomas Dietrich. They are at 4 under. That's tied for 6th. And then tied for 11th, Adam Hadwin at 68 -3. Martin Keimer, Cameron Smith, Victor Hovland right there at -3. Max Homa at -3. Kurt Kitayama and Byron DeChambeau also at -3. They're in the clubhouse. On the course at -3, got quite a few. Tom Hoagie, Jason Duffner, Colin Morikawa. Here's Scotty Scheffler, -3, and he's got several holes left to make a move. And Mark Hubbard is in at -3. As far as some others, We have got, see, we haven't mentioned anybody that we follow. Justin Thomas, 2 under 69. Jordan Spieth, 2 under 69. Phil Mickelson, a 1 under. He is 1 under through 14 holes today. Lucas Glover, even par, 71. So he is in the tournament.
Yeah,
even
needed to
par
mention that since
71
we
for
were
him. Yeah,
talking about whether or not he's going to be able to attend the Hall of Fame ceremonies on Monday. That may be the reason why. If he makes the cut and plays the weekend, he may not be available on Monday.
Sure. Tiger Woods, 72. That's +1. Dustin Johnson, remember him? He plays golf. 2 over 73. And John Rahm, 2 over through 13 holes. And Michael Block, who is 5 over, 76 for his round today. And there you go. Of course, I think Michael has some connections to our state, does he not? That's why we're mentioning him.
Well, he's the one who last year, he's the one, if I'm not mistaken, last year had that great run. He's one of the PGA pros that actually got in the PGA Championship and had the tremendous run and had about 15 minutes of fame. Isn't that him?
That's him.
And then played the next week. He got a tour exemption and played the next week, and we haven't heard from him since.
Yeah.
You talked about Schauffele's 62. That actually tied the low round in men's major championship history. It's a record he already shares with the likes of Ricky Fowler and Brandon Grace. Schauffele shot a 62 last year at the U.S. Open. And then you touched on Scotty Scheffler. He got off to a -2 start on the first hole. He knocked it in from the fairway for an eagle and has sort of just been treading water ever since.
We will have more from Valhalla in Louisville from MJ. MJ Ward will be joining us here at the bottom of the hour to give us more insight on today's opening round of the second major championship of the year, the PGA. And College of Charleston got out of that inning without any further damage, so they're still up 13-10, and Clemson's now batting in the bottom of the first, trailing 5-0. You have a feeling this is going to be maybe something along the lines of 15-10, the way this game started out?
You wonder if that's going to ease, even if they win it. You wonder if that's going to set some uneasy feelings in that Clemson dugout heading into the ACC tournament, considering, now, in fairness, Ethan Darden got no help from his defense in the opening inning. That being said, you don't want to trail Boston College 5-0. You don't want to have to outslug them. You feel like you should have a much better pitching staff that could keep them at bay, and they may. I mean, they may go out, and that may be all Boston College gets. I kind of doubt it, but you know, you score 5 runs in the first, you anticipate having to score about 10 to win that game. That's probably not the momentum you want to take into the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've been questioning their pitching here going on a good while. They're just giving up too many runs. They're giving up too many double-digit totals in games, and I don't think that's going to carry you very far when you get to postseason play. I mean, you might outslug a few people, but I think eventually that's going to catch up with you. And, you know, they can't afford a poor showing against Boston College if they want to hang on to a top 8 seed, as they're being projected to at this point for the NCAA baseball tournament, the regionals. They better win at least 2 out of 3 against these folks. Okay, anything else big going on you want to pass along? Have we covered everything?
Dick Sheridan's going into the Southern Conference Hall of Fame, former Furman coach. That's about outside of that and the PGA Championship, pretty much the big stories of the day thus far.
Okay, our phone number, 888-898-2525. And let's go to Gamecock Larry for our leadoff call tonight. Once again, this is not Groundhog Day. He just calls every day at this time. It's Gamecock Larry. Welcome in, Gamecock Larry. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Mr. Field, I got something in the mail today is a bottle of medication. And I called my pharmacist out there at the VA and I said, what in the world is this stuff? She said it's melatonin or something like that.
Oh, that's good stuff. That's good stuff.
And I said, what's that for? She said, something to help you go to sleep. I said, I don't need nothing to help me go to sleep. I need something to keep me sleeping for a while.
Well, that's what
I'll
do.
Tell you what. But okay. But let me tell you something. Going into the final weekend of the series, I can't remember where a coach says the second and third game of that series is TBA. But I'm going to tell you what's wrong with this coaching staff. It is DKW don't know who. And that's for the whole lineup and everything. That's about all I got to say. I might not even listen to it. Yeah, I'm going to listen to it.
You're going to listen. You got nothing else to do. You're going to listen.
To you.
Look,
I'm going to listen to you for a while.
Well, let's look. Listen now. I know you're going to turn to the baseball game, and that's fine, but you can keep us on the radio. But Ty Good could be the answer tonight. A good outing by Ty Good on a day where former Gamecock Clark Schmidt pitched a shutout into the ninth inning, as the Yankees won, by the way, at Minnesota. They gave up one run in that entire series, by the way. So my point is, good vibes from a former Gamecock might trickle down to Ty Good tonight, and he might be excellent. Give the Gamecocks some length on the mound, save that bullpen. Then, I don't know, they may come back with Gainey tomorrow, spring him on Tennessee since he was so good his last time out, or they might roll the dice and see if Eli Jones is ready to go and going to get back to form after doing some stuff on the mound and doing some tinkering and figuring some things out. So we shall see.
There you go.
That's what TBA means. TBA means we shall see.
There you go.
WSS.
DKW don't know who. Don't know who. That's
well, there's
all
a
I got to say.
I'm just going to tell you, based on the pitching we're seeing around college baseball and the runs being scored, there's a lot of coaches who don't know who. Would you agree with that, Chris?
I would, absolutely. Unless you're in the Arkansas dugouts. Unless you're Dave Van Horn, you pretty much don't know who.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Larry. You go take your melatonin, and I tell you what, a combination of us and melatonin guaranteed to put you into dreamland. I mean, real deep dreams there. So go enjoy yourself. I think I need to take about a bottle of that stuff myself, be honest with you. 888-898-2525 is the number. Clemson does not score in their half of the first, so they go to the top of the second. It's 5-0. Coastal and Marshall are scoreless as well at the end of one, and it is College of Charleston up on Elon 13-10, but the Cougars are threatening first and second with one out, looking to add more. We'll talk about this coming up as well, and we're monitoring the North Greenville game. They haven't started yet, so we'll keep you up on that game as it progresses. So, Dabo Swinney did some interviews from down at the ACC spring meetings, and basically, I'm not going to say he defended his position about not taking anybody out of the portal, John, but he definitely shrugged it off as far as being asked about it, and said, "Look, we take transfers," is how he put it in one interview. High school players, they're transfers. They're transferring from high school to us, so they're transfers. In other words, he's not taking it real seriously. The questioning about not taking anybody out of the transfer portal. He's sticking to his guns about it. And you know what? He'll either be proven right or wrong. They continue to recruit at a high level. If you buy into the recruiting rankings, this 2024 class that they brought in was nationally ranked, and the 2025 class that they're putting together right now is very highly ranked. So how can you complain about that if you're a Clemson fan?
You can't, and it's obviously a hill that Dabo is going to die on. Part of the problem he's getting today is he was on Sirius XM radio, and in an interview with Roddy Jones, he made the comment, and this is all anybody sees. I mean, it's really pretty simple. This is his quote. Most of the guys in the portal aren't good enough to play for us. That's just the reality of it. Now, if you read further, he went on to say, I mean, we have guys that are backups at Clemson that go in the portal because they just want to have an opportunity, and most of them are graduates, by the way, but we have guys that are backups. They want a chance to play. I've got no problem with that. So rarely, and I think here's where he's right, rarely do we have a starter leave Clemson. The problem is that's not what's getting out nationally. What everybody's seeing is the fact that guys in the portal aren't good enough to play for us. When you see programs that have passed his now in Georgia, in Ohio State, Michigan, and Florida State taking guys out of the transfer portal, well, if they can play there, they certainly can play at Clemson, you would think.
Absolutely. I would have to push back on that comment quite a bit. I mean, I could think of some players South Carolina's taken from the portal who could have played at Clemson. I think Spencer Rattler could have gotten some snaps.
I would agree.
And I think a little receiver named Juice Wells might have gotten some snaps. We'll be back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's clear and comfy this the low of 63. Tomorrow, a blend of sun and clouds much of the day with some late afternoon showers possible. The weekend could be a soaking, 70% chance we get storms on Saturday, and an isolated chance of rain on Sunday. Weekend highs in the low 80s. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Breathe fresh life into your home with Lake Murray Soft Wash. Our team specializes in power washing, soft washing, and restoration. From roof cleaning to wood and concrete wash downs, we've got you covered. For top-notch, affordable services that you can trust, call 528-1996 or log on to LakeMurraySoftWash.com to make an appointment. We're not just professionals, we're your neighbors. Whether residential or commercial, Lake Murray Soft Wash sets the standard in cleaning. Embrace the sparkling difference today.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting House Republicans are delivering a rebuke to President Biden for putting a pause on a shipment of bombs to Israel that could be used in an assault on Rafah. They voted Thursday on a bill that has practically no chance of being enacted but puts pressure on Democrats as it mandates delivery of the weapons. The Pentagon says the humanitarian aid will soon begin flowing into the Gaza shore through the new pier that was anchored to the beach overnight and will reach those in need almost immediately. Trucks will drive the aid into the Palestinian enclave, besieged over 7 months of intense fighting in the Israel-Hamas war. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 38 points, the Nasdaq dropped 44, the S&P 500 lower by 11, crude oil up 60 cents, 79.23 a barrel. This is SRN News.
Experience the joys of spring in full glory as you cut through the beautiful waters of Lake Murray on board your brand new boat from Marine 360. Take a look into the awesome selection of top-tier industry brands such as Sea Hunt and Crest. They're showcased at Marine 360. Hey, known for their unwavering commitment to excellent quality and service, Marine 360 has been the leading go-to source for boating enthusiasts since 2007, and they're based right in the heart of the Midlands. The dedicated owners of Marine 360, Brandon and Scott, well, they're on hand to steer you toward a dream boat. They make it a top priority to ensure you receive the best possible service. But they don't stop at helping you choose the perfect boat. Marine 360's meticulously skilled service center is at your command for any boating related issues. Find Marine 360 on the water on Johnson Marina Road or visit them online, marine360sc.com. To make your purchase even smoother, they offer a variety of financing. You need more information? Don't hesitate to give the guys a call, 749-2360. They're ready to help in making your dream boating experience a reality. Visit marine360sc.com.
Hey pool owners, now to get your pool ready for summer fun and at Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio, we make it easy. We have everything for salt and chlorine pools, including chemicals, equipment, and accessories. But our best item is our knowledgeable staff. They're trained and ready to answer your questions so you can do it right. Shop online at jackoliverpools.com and have everything delivered to your door. Get your pool ready with Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio, 3303 Forest Drive at jackoliverpools.com.
Great things don't happen all at once. Big dreams take time. And when it comes to saving for college, it's those small steps that make a difference. I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan, is designed to be taken step by step. You can start with any amount, contributions are tax deductible, and earnings grow tax-free. So why wait? Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
As we celebrate 10 fantastic years at Sweet Comfort Services, we're cooling you off with unbeatable deals on all SEER 2 and high-efficiency AC equipment. Hey Point family, mention this ad and get a thorough spring maintenance check from our expert non-committed for just $95 for your first system and a chill $45 each additional system. Look us up at sweethvac.com or call us at 331-8143. Celebrating a decade of keeping you cool and comfy. That's the Sweet Comfort promise.
Floor Boys wants to make flooring easy for you. So no matter where you live in the Midlands, understand Floor Boys can come to you. Their mobile showroom will bring out samples of some of their best sellers. And remember, with Floor Boys, it's always quality products, value pricing, and unmatched service. And to make it even easier, there's a Spring Envy sale. Right now at floorboys.com, there's a coupon for up to $500 off. Schedule your appointment and get that coupon at floorboys.com. That's floorboys.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Sports Talk on a big Thursday night across the state of North Carolina. Sports Talk Media Network. Phil Kornblut, Chris Bergen, Josh Cohen. You want to join us? 888-898-2525 is the number. Lines are open. Baseball has taken away the attention of some, so that just opens up the lines and gives you more room to join us should you care to. We will be hooking up with MJ Ward at some point, maybe sooner than later, but at some point we will hook up with him and get his thoughts from the PGA Championship, where in round one it is Xander Schauffele setting the pace at 9 under 62. What a terrific round for him as he started on the outward 9. I try to sound like an Englishman when I talk golf. He started on the outward 9, and he birdied a 5 going out. So 31 on his front 9, and then he had 4 birdies coming in, which was the first 9. So he did not have a bogey on the card today. 31-31, 62. Boy, I'd love to sign for a 62 one day. That would just be too pretty. That'd be too pretty. But it ain't never, ever
What's
going
less
to
18?
I know. It's one of those things that what do you know in sports you're never going to do? Like, I know I'm never going to dunk a basketball. Like, I know I'm never going to shoot 62. Like, now I've hit a home run in baseball, high school, so I can do that. I've done a home run thing. What else
dropped
can
a
I do?
critically important fourth down pass opportunity in the playoffs.
That's a fable. It never happened. But, yeah, 62, never going to happen.
No.
Never going to happen. Finau and Thigala next at the 65. So nothing else has changed since our last update of significance. Morikawa, I think he's moved up a little bit. He's at -4, so he's moved up to tied for 6. Scotty Scheffler is -4. He also is tied for 6 as they're playing the backside. Scheffler's through 13 and Morikawa is through 14. Update
I would
to baseball.
enjoy John Daly's round today on a regular basis. Now, he's 11 over par, but that's an 82. I think I'd sign up for that every time out.
I'd kill for 82.
I'd be more than happy to take that every time out.
South Carolina's taking the 1-0 lead. Petrie with a homer to left. I think that's 20 for him on the season, isn't it? Double check his stats. So a home run by Petrie to left, solo home run with 1 out, puts the Gamecocks up 1-0, and they're still batting in the top of the first with 2 men out. So Ty Good will come to the mound with a lead when he goes to the bottom of the first. Meantime, up at Doug Kingsmore, bottom of the second, Clemson trailing Boston College 5-0. Tigers have runners on the corners, and no one is out. Coastal Carolina with a 1-0 lead on Marshall, bottom of the second. College of Charleston 14-10 on Elon in the bottom of the 8th. And top of the first, just underway, North Greenville and Georgia College and State University playing in the Division II regional in Tigerville. No score there. They're in the top of the first.
And
So
you
you're
are
up to
correct.
date
That
with all
was
that.
Petrie's 20th of the season.
He's been largely overshadowed by Condon at Georgia in his power explosion. But you can't overlook what Petrie's done. This is back-to-back 20-plus home run seasons for him in his 2 years at South Carolina. Now you have to be concerned. Now, he's not eligible for the draft, and he has said that, he wants to stay at South Carolina, loves it, da-da-da-da. But let's face it, man, you're going to have to deal keeping him on the roster for 2025 because there'll be some temptation. There'll be, he's from Florida, Florida State. There'll be people probably trying to lure him away. Mark Kingston, they're going to have to not only recruit JUCOs and transfers in high school is going to have to re-recruit some on their own roster, I'm afraid.
Gary Gilmore told me one time that coaching juniors in college baseball is the most difficult thing to do because they realize they're draft eligible. They want to have a good year to show off for the major league scouts who come watch them play, and it's tough on them because there's a lot of pressure. I mean, Petrie's swung it fairly freely the first 2 seasons because he didn't have to worry about the draft. You wonder next year, is he going to bat over 300? Is he going to have over 20 home runs? Is he going to drive in 60? It's not the easiest thing in the world to do. And then, if he doesn't perform as well, comes back his senior year, then maybe he has a better year. I'm not saying he won't have an outstanding year next year. I just, having talked to Coach before, he said juniors are tough to coach just the way the setup. That's not just on Ethan. That's every junior in college baseball.
And the thing, too, is if he stays on at South Carolina, I mean, he's going to be challenging some of the all-time home run records at South Carolina. Hank Small, I guess, holds the record for career home runs at South Carolina, which I think, not knowing off the top of my head, I'd have to look it up in the record book. I'm going to say it's somewhere like in the 60s, maybe. Does that sound right? About 60-something home runs? I could look it up, but I'm just going off the top of my head there. He has another – well, first of all, this year's not done. Right. He could end up around, depending on how long the season goes, he could end up in the neighborhood of – he's at 20. Shoot, he could end up around 26, 27 home runs being conservative. He could get red hot and touch 30. That's asking a lot here, considering they've got this game and 2 more, and then at least 1 game in the SEC tournament, so that's 4 games. Then assuming they make the NCAA, at least 2 games there. So at a minimum, 6 more games ahead for him. Be hard to hit 10 homers in 6 games. I'd say.
You would think so. And keep in mind, Justin Smoke hit 62.
Maybe it's Smoke who is the record holder.
I was pulling up. It's not the easiest thing to do, except unless I grab their media guide. That would take too much time. But I pulled up a NCAA story that they had done years ago, ranking the top 10 players at USC in baseball history. It's funny. They don't even have Hank Small on the list.
Well, that's crazy.
I would agree.
No, I mean, seriously, that's just plain stupid. I mean, he is one of the top all-time players in South Carolina history, All-American and home run hitter galore. Let's see, I've opened up the media guide, and I'm going to see if I can do a quick glance through here and find the record real quick and tell you so we can satisfy our curiosity on this. Individual batting records. This should tell us, right?
You would think.
There's doubles. Who do you think the all-time doubles leader is at South Carolina? Okay, that is that's by the game. I need career. Give me career here. Sacrifice, 3 hits game. This looks like career. That is okay. It's all mixed together. So home runs, triples, home runs. Let's see, home runs. Season 29. Jerome Peters. Back in 2002.
Petrie was chasing after that last year, you remember.
Yeah, 23. All right, it is Justin Smoke. Justin Smoke, 62 from 2006 to 2008 in 194 games. Hank Small, Hank Small hit 48 home runs. He's the all-time home run hitter as a right-hander, and he hit 48 from 72 to 75. Jeff Parnell, all-time leader as a left-hander. This would be a good trivia question because Justin Smoke was a switch hitter.
Yeah.
And he hit 62. Jeff Parnell, who is a great power hitter, he hit 45. So he has the record as a pure left-handed hitter. And Trey Dyson has the record for homers in consecutive games, 5. Back in 2000. Yeah, he was a really good power hitter. Left-handed hitter.
I think underrated. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we solved that because I was really, getting concerned about the answer to that question.
Ethan Petrie would have to stay 4 years to even challenge, I think, Justin Smoke. I mean, this puts into perspective. We're watching power numbers go out the wazoo, and you've got probably the best power hitter that the Gamecocks have, and he has just passed 40 home runs. So, I guess it's possible he could do that next year.
Yeah,
get past
absolutely.
Justin Smoke.
All right, a couple of other things, and our phone number, 888-898-2525. That is the South Carolina Education lottery lucky number. We have a preseason FCS poll. Came out today. This is by Hero Sports. And Furman is ranked 14th in the preseason ranking by Hero Sports. South Dakota State is ranked number 1, followed by North Dakota State, Montana, Montana State, South Dakota, Villanova, Idaho, Sacramento State, Southern Illinois, and UT Chattanooga. And Furman is number 14. Something else I saw today worth talking about, and this was on CBSSports.com. And, you know, I don't get carried away with these rankings that these sites put out during this time of the year because it's just something to fill time with, you know, somebody's opinion about the top this, the top that. So they have ranked the group of 5 football coaches, okay? The group of 5 football coaches. The number 1 ranked group of 5 football coach is none other than Jamie Chadwell. Jamie Chadwell. I mean, look, Jamie Chadwell has won everywhere where he's been a head coach. I mean, from North Greenville to Charleston Southern to Delta State to Coastal Carolina, now at Liberty in 1 year. The guy's just a winner. His system that he coaches, that he designed, I guess he designed this offense, the one that he runs, I mean, it works. And he surrounds himself with very good coaches, and he recruits good players to operate that offense. So he is very deserving. And, I mean, somebody's going to gobble him up big time in the next year or two, probably after next year. If they have another big season at Liberty, you know, I'm not suggesting they go undefeated and make it to a major bowl game like they did this past season. But still, another strong year, shoot, somebody's going to grab him in a big-time capacity.
And the brilliance of his spread option attack is he's able to get high school quarterbacks who sort of run that system at the high school level. It may not be a straight spread option, but a lot of option priorities, I guess, and principles in that attack that a lot of high schools still run, and then the ability to throw the football too. And most of your high school quarterbacks are the best athletes on their team. So you put them in Jamie's system, and it works out spades because everywhere he's been, you pointed out, he's had guys that can run that system and do it extremely well. Grayson McCall, prime example. I mean, 3-time Sun Belt Player of the Year, and a lot of it was early in his career being able to run that offense. And so, yeah, I agree with you. And, you know, it'd be interesting if Clark Lee continues to struggle at Vanderbilt. You know, Jamie is a Tennessee guy. Would Vanderbilt make that call, pull him in to run a unique offense in the SEC and just see if that might turn their fortunes around?
You know, you and I were talking about this off air, but it's worth talking about on air. As you mentioned, Grayson, and now Grayson being at NC State, and I think that makes NC State a very serious contender in the ACC simply because he's there and he can make everybody around him that much better. So, like, who do you rank? Where does he rank among the top quarterbacks in the ACC? I'm looking at this one ranking, and Cam Ward. You got to remember now the ACC is flooded with transfer quarterbacks.
Yeah,
there aren't many returning quarterbacks who were there with their team last year. Which, you know, and I'm looking here. Where is Cade Klubnik ranked in this particular ranking? He's ranked the 5th quarterback in the ACC behind Haynes King at Georgia Tech, who's back for another year there after transferring. Kyron Drones, who's at Virginia Tech, and he had a big year last year, over 2,000 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. He rushed for 800 yards. They rank Uiagalelei number 2 at Florida State. Even though his numbers last season were pretty, I mean, they weren't off the charts, 2,600 yards, 21 touchdowns, but he only completed 57%, 7 interceptions. He only rushed for 200 yards, 7 touchdowns. You put him as the number 2, and the number 1, they list Cameron Ward, who is another transfer. I think he came from Houston, didn't he? want to say he came from Houston to Miami. This guy, 67% completion, 3,700 yards, 25 passing touchdowns, 7 picks, rushed for 144 yards, and 8 touchdowns. So that's who this particular group sees as the top quarterback, and they have Klubnik at number 5. I mean, he's got to play better than the number 5 quarterback in the league for Clemson to have a chance to win the championship and get to the playoffs, I would say.
Agreed. And Grayson, I think, is an unknown. First off, how healthy is he? That's been his biggest bugaboo, and that's the only thing that's held him back at Coastal is his inability to be able to stay on the field and stay healthy. If he's able to do so at NC State, he's got all the tools. Be an entirely different offense, but it's more what he tried to play in this year before he got hurt at Arkansas State under Tim Beck, because Tim Beck, the quarterback coach guru that came from NC State, now the head coach at Coastal. So Grayson's got a pretty good idea, I think, of what they have run at NC State, and felt like that'd be a good fit for him. But we've got to see if he can make it through an entire season. First off, against ACC competition versus Sun Belt competition.
Well, and you talk about some of these other transfer quarterbacks. You got Kyle McCord at Syracuse. I mean, that's a big-time pickup for them. This is a guy that completed 66%, threw for 3,200 yards and 24 touchdowns. That's a major step up, and they have a new coach, of course. Also, you've got, and you consider these new teams like SMU. Preston Stone is considered to be a very good quarterback, 3,200 yards, 28 passing touchdowns last season. So he comes in with some big-time numbers. Chandler Rogers at Cal, 3,400 yards, 29 touchdowns, 62%. Duke took the transfer from Texas, Malik Murphy, who's got all kind of promise, just hadn't played a whole lot. And let's see, I think Louisville's quarterback returns. Tyler Schall. I think he was there last year. Maybe he was in a backup role there last year. But I think he's still – I think he's still – no, I take that back. He came from Texas Tech. He was a backup at Texas Tech.
And isn't Riley Leonard, the former Duke quarterback, isn't he at Notre Dame now?
Yeah, but he doesn't count. Notre Dame's not in the league, They're not in the league.
Technically, yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, he's not in the league.
Notre Dame's not in the league, but Cal is. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But, Max Johnson's at North Carolina. I guess he's the heir apparent to step in there as a transfer. A lot of new names at quarterback, a lot of big names at quarterback. Eli Holstein used to be at Notre Dame. He's at Pitt now after transferring from Alabama. I thought he started at Notre Dame. Maybe I was wrong. He transferred from Alabama. So they're expecting him to win the job at Pitt. Okay, there you go. We got to hit the break on Sports Talk, and we'll be back with more. South Carolina and Tennessee 1-1. Tennessee still batting. Bottom of the first, Amick with the RBI single. South Carolina kid, former Clemson third baseman.
Yeah.
Gets the RBI single. Clemson's down 6-1. Top of the third, BC has a runner on third, 2 outs. Coastal's up 5-1, top of the third. Charleston in the bottom of the ninth, leading at Elon, 14-10. Be back after this break. We're with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer, let's say I'm out in the woods or I'm on the water and I need to reach a DNR agent. How do I do that?
Operation Game Thief, Phil. It's been around 30-plus years. You can call us at our 24-hour hotline any day, 922-5431. To report wildlife violations or to get help if you're in trouble in the woods or on the water, call us at Operation Game Thief, 1-800-922-5431.
Stay tuned. More Sports Talk is coming up on the Sports Talk Media Network.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has introduced a new rolling jackpot, and it's big.
How big? Bigger than a striped bass? Reel 'em in.
Way bigger.
Bigger than this world-class golf course? Or
bigger than that.
Even bigger than the Gaffney Peach?
Let's just say with the new rolling jackpot, Palmetto Cash 5 is officially too big to ignore. Palmetto Cash 5 draws nightly, so play today and check if your numbers are winners in the Players Club app or at seeducationlottery.com. Overall odds are 1 in 10. Top prize odds are 1 in 850,668.
George Bryant here for Tsunami Bar Sports, and some say the fun is in the winning. I say the fun is in the training. And Tsunami Robbie, what do you say?
George, we all know you get more done when you're having fun. This technology is different, it's engaging,
but it's also a lot of fun to use.
Hi, this is Phil Kornblut. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any Tsunami Bar order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait, order today. We are back on Sports Talk. All right, correction. I misspoke. It was a home run by Seymour for Tennessee that accounted for that run. Amick had a single. I saw his stuff in bold letters, and I was thinking maybe he had driven in a run. I missed the home run. Doesn't matter. 1-1, bottom of the first. Tennessee threatening with 2 outs. Runner on third. Clemson has pulled their starter. They give up a run in the third. They're down 6-1. Darden is pulled after 2 innings. 4 hits, 6 runs, 2 earned. Struck out 2, hit a batter. So tough outing for him and tough defense behind him. Marshall is on to replace him. And North Greenville's taking a 2-0 lead on Georgia College and State University in the top of the second. So good start for the Crusaders, as you knew that they're going to make this. You knew they were going to make the regional and host and have a chance to advance. So got another good team there in Tigerville, as they always do. Let's see what else we got going on. We'll update the PGA for you. We're going to connect with MJ, I guess maybe in the second hour. Got our wires crossed on our timing. So guess he'll be joining us in the second hour. Mike Morgan joining us after the top of the hour. Morgan on the move with his thoughts on the end of the baseball season. We'll talk a little Atlanta Braves with him as well. Braves have been going pretty well. Got shut out yesterday by the Cubs. But for the most part, things have been going well for them. And we can take your phone calls, too, at 888-898-2525. That is the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Also want to remind you, getting ready for your summer vacation, make sure you call Jimmy Smith at James Smith Real Estate here in Litchfield and Garden City and Murrells Inlet and Pauley's, all those places, Pauley'sVacationRentals.com. You can talk to Jimmy and tell him what you're looking for as far as your accommodations are concerned, and then tell him the budget, and he'll work with you to find what you're looking for. He or his staff, somebody will get with you and find you exactly what you are looking for that summer vacation. Maybe you want to buy a house or a condo. And Jimmy's more than happy to work with you there as well. He's helped thousands of people find vacation homes and permanent homes here along the beach during his time in operation, which has been a long, long time. His phone number is 843-237-4246 and online at Pauley'sVacationRentals.com. Okay. We will hear from Mike Morgan, as I mentioned, after the top of the hour break. And a couple of other things I want to touch on. Our poll question of the week: will South Carolina qualify for a bowl game in 2024? Time is running out to vote. 543 votes are in, and 52.1% say yes. 47.9% they say no for the Gamecocks making a bowl game. The Kentucky game, we didn't mention this last night, the Kentucky game set for a 3:30 kick in Lexington. Be a hot afternoon, a hot September afternoon to open up SEC play. That'll be on ABC, second game of the season. Gamecocks have won the last 2 over the Wildcats, and they won up there last time they went. So you're going to see a couple of new quarterbacks here as well with Lenore Sellers with the Gamecocks, and I'd have to look and see who Kentucky's plugging in, because they plug in a new quarterback almost every year.
Yeah, they do, and that's going to be a critically important game, well, obviously for both teams, but I think for USC to get anywhere close to qualifying for a bowl, that's when they've got to put in the win column.
Yeah, that's one of those games where looks like Brock Vandegrift going to be the Kentucky starting quarterback. Former quarterback at Georgia, never played, and so from what I'm reading, looks like he will be the guy. He was highly recruited coming out of high school. So 2 inexperienced young quarterbacks will be going at it. But, both of those teams feel like that's a game they should win. So
absolutely,
neither one respects the other a whole lot. Be right back.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. An NFL kicker is getting attention for some comments he made during a recent commencement address. Correspondent Mike Hempen reports.
The comments made by Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker came during last weekend's graduation ceremony at Benedictine College. Butker congratulated the women receiving degrees and said most of them were probably more excited about getting married and having children. Butker, who's Catholic and has made his conservative Catholic beliefs well known, said some Catholic leaders were pushing dangerous gender ideologies onto the youth of America. He also assailed Pride Month and President Biden's stance on abortion. The NFL issued a statement saying Butker's views are not those of the league, saying the league is steadfast in its commitment to inclusion. I'm Mike Hempen.
President Biden is cheering the Supreme Court's ruling on the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
In a 7-2 ruling, the High Court said the way the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is funded does not violate the Constitution. The CFPB is a federal agency that was created after the 2008 financial crisis. President Biden welcomed the ruling, calling it an unmistakable win for American consumers. Justice Clarence Thomas wrote the majority opinion, splitting from his fellow conservative allies. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Republicans are delivering a rebuke to President Biden for putting a pause on a shipment of bombs to Israel that could be used in an assault on Rafah. They voted Thursday on a bill that has practically no chance of being enacted, but puts pressure on Democrats as it mandates delivery of the weapons. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 38 points, the Nasdaq dropped 44, the S&P 500 index lower by 11. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten. Without Trinity support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976.
Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico is hanging on to life after an assassination attempt.
Slovakia's Prime Minister is in a stable condition after an assassination attempt that saw the leader fighting for his life. Morning after the shooting, Slovakia's Defense Minister said in a news conference that Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico is now stable but in a serious condition. He said that doctors performed a 5-hour surgery on him overnight and that staff are continuing to treat Fico in an attempt to improve his condition. On footage shown by RTV Prievidza, the pro-Russian leader was shot multiple times in the stomach while he was attending a government meeting in a former coal mining town north of the capital. I'm Karen Chamas.
The government of South Sudan and rebel opposition groups have signed a commitment declaration for peace. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and comfy this evening with a low of 63. Tomorrow, a blend of sun and clouds much of the day with some late afternoon showers possible. The weekend could be a soaking. 70% chance we get storms on Saturday and an isolated chance of rain on Sunday. Weekend highs in the low 80s. I'm Al Moss with your on-point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, we're back on Sports Talk Media Network. On this Thursday night, Phil Kornblut, Chris Bergen, and Josh Cohen. Let's update the baseball once again. Top of the second. USC, Tennessee are 1-1. Clemson doing what they do, coming from behind now after 3. Tigers are trailing Boston College 6-4. Obertop, a 3-run homer for the Tigers with 2 out in the bottom of the third. Gets them close. They're down 6-4. Coastal Carolina's built a 5-1 lead on Marshall in the bottom of the third. College of Charleston has beaten Elon 14-10, so they edge closer to the 40-win mark for them. And Georgia College and State University's taking the 3-2 lead on North Greenville as they play in the top of the second of that playoff game up in Tigerville.
Who says the college doesn't have football?
Say again?
I said, who says the College of Charleston does not have football?
Well, they're scoring runs.
They put up 2 touchdowns today. By the way, speaking of Clemson, they have just announced that tomorrow's game, due to forecasted bad weather in the upstate tomorrow evening, they're going to play tomorrow at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So
I tell you what, man, it's like every weekend we're getting rain that's messing up these schedules. Every weekend.
Yep.
You know,
it's like we live in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, really. I mean, you have to adjust on the fly here, you know. All right, time for a visit with, speaking of adjusting on the fly, let's welcome into Sports Talk for another edition of Morgan on the Move. He is Mike Morgan, brought to you by State Farm agent Gary Patterson. For 35 years, Gary's been serving the real estate needs from Lugoff to Lexington and Columbia to Blythewood. Your auto, home, life insurance, and business insurance can all be handled by Gary, who spends countless hours helping South Carolinians with all their insurance needs. And he makes a difference in the community. Go check out GaryPatterson.net today, and he'll go over the best plans for you and your family. That's GaryPatterson.net.
Brought to you by Love Chevy. Act now for springtacular savings on the best selection of new Chevys. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
All right, time to welcome in a man who has more sponsors. He has more sponsors than, I can't come up with a cute line. I'll just say he has a lot of sponsors. He is Mike Morgan. Morgan on the Move. Welcome in, sir. How are you?
Well, how are you guys?
We're doing terrific.
Tremendous.
Terrific. Wrapping up the regular season of college baseball. Can you believe we've come to the end of the line here as far as the regular season is concerned?
I can. Obviously, you know, the situation surrounding Carolina and the importance of winning a game in that series against Tennessee, that's a little more drama than some other teams are going through right now. You know, you've got the race at the top between Kentucky and Tennessee, and Tennessee fans would like to send a letter of gratitude to the Gamecocks for taking 2 out of 3 against Kentucky. That's a Kentucky team that might wind up the number 1 overall seed. And then you have a couple of teams kind of jockeying for position. And then, yeah, for the first time in a while, there's at least a possibility, if Carolina can't do something here, scratch something here in Knoxville/Hoover, that you could have to sweat out Selection Sunday. And that's obviously what you want to avoid. And a 1 win in Knoxville, to me, would would clinch it. I mean, you're in. There's no question about that. But I wouldn't want to go into Selection Sunday losing, 7 in a row. That would be a little bit dicey.
Yeah, I would agree. Got off to a decent start. It's 1-1 against Tennessee up in Knoxville. They're starting Ty Good. They're continuing to shuffle their rotation. Mike, you've been around baseball forever. I don't think you ever want to be in a position as a coaching staff of still hunting for your starting rotation going into the last weekend of the regular season, but that's kind of the position they find themselves in.
Yeah, it's a rough spot to be in. And look, I've covered enough teams, including enough Carolina teams. Most of them, of course, were very good and didn't have your typical weaknesses. But every now and then, there's a team that didn't hit real well, and so you keep mixing up the lineup, and no matter what you do, they still don't hit really well. And every now and then, there's a team that struggles on the mound, and you can mix and match, and you hope to find the right formula for success with the rotation. But I just think at the end of the day, it's kind of like all the people that were so obsessed with what day Eli Jones starts. The bigger problem to me for the last 3 weeks was that he wasn't getting anybody out. That's not a day of the week problem. Huh. That's a stuff problem. Yeah. Changing the calendar is not going to. It's still the same lineup, whether you pitch on Fridays, Saturday, Thursday. It's still the same lineup, and you could make the argument it's actually harder in Game 1 than it was in Game 2 where they were throwing them. But no, it's a concern. The lineup, which for a while there was struggling, has come on a bit. I understand Petrie's already hit a home run. I believe that's 20 for him. Mm-hmm. But you've got to get better pitching. If this team is going to make any movement, even into the postseason, once they get there, you're going to have to find some guys that you feel confident in. We know this team hasn't had a true ace really all year. You don't have to have that. It's nice. It's a luxury you'd love to have. But more importantly, they just don't have starters that you feel confident are going to give you a quality start right now, and that's problematic.
Let's talk about Clemson. They are down to Boston College 8-4. Now, Boston College has tacked on 2 more runs in the top of the 4th, including their 3rd homer of the day. And I've been saying for a while, Clemson's pitching looks extremely suspect to me for a team ranked as high as they are ranked. And, I mean, we're seeing more evidence of it here in this game against the worst team in the ACC in Boston College, and the Clemson pitching's getting tattooed. And their defense hasn't helped either. What do you make of them? I mean, are they going to have a long run in the postseason with the pitching the way it's going right now? What do you foresee?
Well, I mean, as it stands now, they're in great shape for a national seed, and obviously that helps. So, do they have – you know what I've noticed, is particularly in the SEC, and this might apply to college baseball in general, I think it's a down year for pitching. If you look at the projected first-round picks, as I did the other day, Kylie McDaniel does a great job for ESPN with that. Kylie's out of Atlanta. I've gotten to know him rather well, and he's pretty spot on. He's kind of like the Mel Kiper, but with not as good a hair. Yeah. And maybe a little more accurate. But if you look at the top picks, you will see Charlie Condon of Georgia. You will see Caglione of Florida. You will see I just forgot his name, the cat for Wake Forest. But most of the top 10 picks, the Kurtz, thank you. Most of the top 10 picks are hitters. Mm-hmm. And there's only a couple of SEC pitchers expected to go in the first round. Usually there's about 3 or 4 in the top 10. And so there's been a lot of discussion. Coaches that I've talked to, there's a lot of, call it paranoia, call it whatever you will. A lot of people think the bats are juiced, the balls are juiced. I mean, we're having a ridiculous amount of home runs. But some of it might be just a little bit of a down year for pitching overall. I don't see a Paul Skeens out there. Hagen Smith of Arkansas is terrific. But just think, I mean, last year you had Smith and you had Skeens and you had Chase Burns of Tennessee, who's now at Wake Forest, who just shut down Clemson last week. I mean, it was a stronger year on the bump in 2023 than I think it's been in 2024. So that's a long way of saying Clemson might not be pitching dominant, but maybe this is a year where not many teams are other than Arkansas, and Arkansas can't consistently hit.
And stick your pipe and smoke it in there, Arkansas.
That's right. Damn Skippy.
Mike Morgan on the move here tonight on Sports Talk. And Mike, you stole my thunder because I was going to ask you about the lack thereof of pitching. I mean, you look at South Carolina's team ERA is sitting around 5. Phil already told you what Clemson's doing or not doing against Boston College. I think he laid it out really well. There's just not a lot of good pitching staffs in college baseball. Does that speak to a bigger problem at the high school level? When you get a kid who's a pretty good pitcher at the high school level, is Major League Baseball throwing so much money at them that they're skipping college to go straight and get ready for the pros?
It's a great question, but honestly, it's really the opposite. I've never seen more kids turn down a lot of money to play in college for 3 years and then make more money when they get out on the other side. And then the kids that play at a high level in college baseball, their trek to the big league. I mean, I mentioned Paul Skeens. He's already in the rotation for the Pirates.
Right.
You know, it wasn't that long ago he was pitching in Omaha. It's a projected ascension for Hagen Smith when he goes in the top 5 out of Arkansas as well. Whereas if you take the 18-year-old at a high school with the lightning bolt of an arm, chances are it's going to be years before he sees the show. It's going to be years of 8-hour bus rides and a lot of non-competitive, somewhat apathetic games that you're going to have to get used to. So I think actually it's the opposite. I really just think it's an aberration. I think next year we could be right back to where we were in 2023, where you've got stud pitchers all over the place that are high draft picks. I just think for whatever reason this year, I mean, Vandy's staff is down. Florida's staff is down. Those are 2 programs that routinely have incredibly deep, talented, high draft pick staffs, and both of them have been less than stellar this year.
So back to your conspiracy theory question, and I think it's a valid one to ask. If it is indeed the case that the bats may be juiced a touch or the balls are, do you think the NCAA may start looking into this a little bit closer and say, look, we don't want 15-10 type ball games like the College of Charleston played today. We'd much prefer a 6-5 sort of pitcher's duel, for lack of a better term.
I'm sure there's somebody on that committee, and I don't know who it is nowadays. You know, back in the day, when they went to the BB Core bats in 2011. If you remember, the offense just completely got shut down. And quite frankly, it was a boring game. And Jack Leggett of Clemson led the way to say, okay, we've gone too far here. If we're going to deaden the bats, let's at least liven up the ball. And they went to the flat-seamed baseball, more similar to pro baseball, and the ball travels farther off the bat. And that helped the offense. And I thought the game from that point on was playing as true as it could be. I thought we really hit the sweet spot. We were like Goldilocks. We found the bed. We found the bed, the bat, the ball that was just right. and now I think clearly something is amiss, and I don't know what it is. You know, sometimes you talk to coaches and there's a little bit of paranoia in there. But when you have the offensive productivity that you do right now, it's more than just, oh, guys are lifting weights and, oh, the pitching's not that great. To me, there's something a little more there.
Don't know that we've ever asked you about his career, but as it starts to come to a close, what kind of impact do you think Gary Gilmore has had on college baseball at Coastal? And maybe as he moves on, he was telling us the other night, he's looking at the possibility of trying to get a sort of child cancer day at all 3 levels and raise money for children's hospitals around the country to try and help battle that insidious disease. I mean, what kind of impact do you believe he's had?
Well, first off, to your last point, it just speaks to what a gem of a human being he is, and that's the most important thing, and that will be as big a part of his legacy as anything else, and how he's affected people in a positive way. You know, as a coach, I can't say enough about what he's done. I mean, anytime you take a program from the lower levels and you put it on top of the mountain and you win a World Series championship the way they did in 2016. I mean, we've had a lot of teams flirt with that. We've had the dark horse teams, if you will, get to Omaha. But to go in there and win it, I don't know if we're going to see that again, quite honestly. That's so phenomenal and so difficult to do that I just don't know with the way the system is set up now with NIL and the rich kind of getting richer. It's going to be very difficult for another program to make a run like that. Fresno State was what, 2008, if I'm not mistaken. That was obviously a major story. They knocked off Georgia. But it was another what, 20 years or so? No, another 8 years. 8 years. Yeah. No, I was told there'd be no math. 8 years before that happened again, and I think it might be 50 years before we see another mid-major win the whole thing.
Speaking of mid-majors having a heck of a year and a coach you know well, job that Chad Holbrook is doing this year at the college, closing in on 40 wins. Of course, fortunately for them, they're in a league that I would imagine will only have one team advance, and that'll be the tournament champion. So they're going to have to do it all over again next week. But what about the job he's done this year with the Cougs?
Well, full disclosure, I've known Chad for a while. He got the job as an assistant when I was still doing Gamecock baseball games. Have remained close with Chad and on the Inside the Gamecock show each and every weekday from 11 to 2 on the Chief Sports Network.
Cheap plug.
Check your local YouTube, Spotify, all the good outlets out there for a terrific show with Jamie Bradford and J.C. Sherbert. But I digress. We have him on every week, and so we've kind of gotten to cover his journey. You know what I love about it, Phil, and you can appreciate this because I know you've had a lot of regular segments with former coaches on your show over the years. When you get to hear a coach, because every coach has been fired, right? I mean, every coach has had a job that it didn't go the way he wanted it to. And obviously that was the case with Chad at Carolina. But you learn from that, and it makes you even a better coach. And it also makes you a better guy to talk about, the trials, the tribulations, the hurdles you got to clear in order to be successful. And I think he's taken that experience, and it's really helped him at college at Charleston. I'm not surprising that he's doing a great job over there.
Yeah, got a big win today, opening a series against Elon. I've come up with my line. I said earlier, Mike Morgan, who has more sponsors than, I couldn't come up with a wrap-up line to that. Mike Morgan, who has more sponsors than Richard Petty in NASCAR in 1966.
Yeah, he was an STP guy, wasn't he?
He was an STP guy,
Yes.
but he had a bunch of others. Those NASCAR guys were loaded with sponsors.
Yeah. Well, I've only got two so far, the great Gary Patterson and, of course, our terrific friends at Love Chevy in Columbia. But there's always room for more. I know you suggested some rather scandalous spots. We're not taking on Platinum Plus, Phil. I'm sorry.
That's too bad. No, Teddy Hefner's got them locked down.
Teddy's probably doing remotes there tonight.
He's got a lifetime contract, ironclad.
He's playing the music on Satellite One.
But you know what? There's a place in Birmingham that still has a seat reserved for you. Sammy's. Remember Sammy's? Remember the great Sammy's in Birmingham? Yeah.
I heard stories about it. I believe that was the only place of its kind that had a security guard the moment you walked in.
That's right.
Just to make sure you didn't see anything you weren't supposed to.
It was a real downer when you walked into Sammy's and saw cops in there with guns on the hips. That kind of took the buzz away from you.
Mike, if we may, before we let you run, I wanted to get your take on the Formula One race you attended, a week or so ago down in Miami.
Did you go to Formula One? Oh, my gosh.
I went to my first ever F1 race in Miami. And in fact, it really was my first race, period. I'm not a big car racing guy, but I had a terrific time. It's obviously different than NASCAR. I'm sure NASCAR fans could tell you how much better NASCAR is. I'm sure F1 fans would tell you. I don't care. I mean, I just love this, the feel and the sound of the cars revving around the track. I didn't know a single driver. I didn't care. It was a good time. Very good time.
Those cars are really, really fast, aren't they?
Well, they are. When it's F1, you gotta pivot all over the place. You're not just going on an oval track.
Mm-hmm.
So it's to watch those guys do that. I can only imagine how many times I would have run into a wall.
Mike,
amazing.
knowing you as I do, you do kind of resemble a Formula One driver from, say, Argentina, maybe, or somewhere over there across the pond. You kind of you have a sort of a European look to you. I could see you climbing in there and dropping it down in fifth gear and taking it hard into the corner.
I would love to do that. I would love. Speaking of sponsors, I'm sure they have more than just Gary Patterson of State Farm and Love Chevy. They got some heavy hitters over there on their cars and probably make quite a bit of money off of those sponsors. And they certainly don't hurt in the female department either. It's not a bad gig. If you want to be an F1 driver, there's worse ways to make a living.
Well, your middle name is Ferrari, Mike Ferrari Morgan. So, you do have it. Yes. You do have it in your bloodstream. So,
Mike, the one thing I do know about Formula One, if you have to ask how much it costs to get into the sport, you can't afford to get into the sport.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a little pricey.
Hey, before we let you go, the C's, Mike and I have common enthusiasm for the Boston Celtics. Looking pretty good. I don't think the Celtics have even played as a team their overall best game in the playoffs yet, because Tatum is shooting like 26% from three in the playoffs. So it's time to put it all together when we get to this Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, for the right to get smoked by the Joker in the finals. No, look, it's a great story, but Boston's got to do a better job of finishing. You got a lot of talent, and there's so much. I mean, the East is not good this year, and the teams that were good are all hurt. So, I mean, they basically have been gift-wrapped a trip to the finals. And I want to see the Nuggets back in there. I love watching Denver play. I love watching the Joker play. That series of Minnesota, to me, has been immensely entertaining. I called a number of Anthony Edwards games at Georgia, and he is obviously going to be must-see TV if you're an NBA fan for a long time to come. But there's no better player in the game if you just want to win. There's no better player in the game right now than Jokic. There just isn't.
Yeah. He is a tough defend, as they say. But I will roll with the C's this year. Got to get it done this year. If Horford is knocking in 20-plus and knocking down some threes like he did last night, makes the Celtics awfully tough to beat. I'm just waiting on Tatum to put it all together. I mean, he has not had – I know he's scoring because he said, look, he's not worried about his scoring. He'll go and get his points. But his outside shooting's got to get better. And Derek White did not have a great series this second round. Had a great first round, but not a great second round, scoring-wise.
That is great Celtics analysis. I think Walter from Goose Creek on line 3 would like to break that down a little further.
Walter, go right ahead. Let's talk some Celtics tonight.
Really playing into that target audience.
Since we don't really have much anything else going tonight, we can talk with Walter about the Celtics. Mike, thank you. And we will talk to you next week. That's Mike Ferrari Morgan joining us here on Sports Talk.
From F1 fame straight to Sports Talk.
There you go.
Peace
Thank you,
out.
Haas. Talk to you next
buddy.
week. All right, Mike Morgan on the move. Tennessee has taken a 2-1 lead on the Gamecocks in the bottom of the third. Hang on a second. Boston College now 8-5 on Clemson. In the bottom of the fourth, Tigers have a runner on second. Did somebody homer? No, Jarrell, a single to left center. Coastal up 5-2, middle of 5. What you got?
I was going to say, for Ty Good's sake, just don't pitch to Christian Moore. He's hit 2 solo home runs. He's the difference in the game right now. He's their leadoff hitter batting .380. And for Mike, just don't put stuff on Twitter you don't want us to see and ask you about the following week. Happened to see a picture of he and his lovely bride at the F1 race, and I thought, well, shoot, that'd be fun to find out how much he enjoyed Miami.
Well, if there's anything on Twitter that Mike Morgan really enjoys, is Mike Morgan. So you're going to see, you're going to live, what's that word? You're going to live
vicariously.
I was going to say vicariously. That's a good word. You're going to live vicariously through Mike Morgan as he travels the world.
You look real comfortable over there, Phil.
Who me? Oh, shoot, I'm sorry.
Speaking of falling asleep with melatonin.
I was doing a Gamecock Larry there during that. While you were asking questions, I was about to reach Gamecock Larry status, leaning back. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. 100 Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and comfy this evening with a low of 63. Tomorrow, a blend of sun and clouds much of the day with some late afternoon showers possible. The weekend could be a soaking. 70% chance we get storms on Saturday and an isolated chance of rain on Sunday. Weekend highs in the low 80s. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting Slovak authorities charged a man with attempting to assassinate Prime Minister Robert Fico, saying he acted alone in a politically motivated act that left the longtime leader in serious but stable condition. Fico's pro-Russia views have contributed to deep divisions in the small European country that borders Ukraine. Donald Trump's lawyers have sought to portray the star prosecution witness in his alleged hush money trial as a serial fabulist who has been on seeing the presumptive Republican presidential nominee behind bars. During hours of cross-examination on Thursday, defense attorney Todd Blanche pressed former Trump attorney Michael Cohen for hours with questions that focused much on his misdeeds as on the case's specific allegations. More details at srnnews.com.
Every month you get a power bill, and every time you look at it, you realize you have very little control of that bill. If you want to take some control, it's time to reach out and talk to the folks at Broker Solar. Listen, solar power is not for everyone. It is a commitment, but the rewards are well worth it, not because of the politicians and the media and the green this and the green that. Nah, it's worth it because it'll save you money on the long term. It'll give you control of your power, and there are some great tax advantages available. But you know what? You need to do your homework. Don't get fooled by the guy putting lawn signs in the grass offering something too good to be true. I have known the owners of Broker Solar for more than 20 years. I trust Ken and his team, and I believe you should too. They are local. They are legitimate. I've been to multiple homes where they've installed solar power. The technology is phenomenal, and I am a believer. See for yourself. Online, it's brokersolar.com, or call Ken at 807-7417. That's 807-7417. It's Broker Solar.
Hey y'all, this is Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We'd like to invite you and your family to dine with us. We have a great menu that's sure to please your whole family. We have fresh cooked burgers, big juicy wings, blue plate menu featuring country cooking, oven baked hoagies, fresh crisp salads, authentic Greek food like gyros, souvlaki, and baklava. We also carry 20 different premium cheesecakes and pies. Flight Deck Restaurant also has an arcade with 30 different games like Star Wars, Batman, Skee Ball, Bass Wheel, Pac-Man, Galaga, and so much more. Flight Deck, your favorite family restaurant. Thanks y'all and God bless.
At Palmetto State Armory, we can't catch the fish for you, but we can make sure you have everything you need to have a great day on the water. You're targeting bass or bluegill? Stop by and shop lures from brands like Zoom, Rapala, Berkeley, and our exclusive hardbait line from Strike King. Looking for a new rod or reel? We've got options from great companies like Luz, Abu Garcia, and Shimano. Worried about the weather? We've got rain gear and apparel from Hook, Aftco, Columbia, and more. Be sure to stop by Palmetto State Armory before your next fishing trip and make it the best one yet.
You don't normally call a plumber until you need a plumber. Well, if you need one today or if you need one tomorrow, I want you to remember Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. Listen, I might not know all the tricks to turning a wrench. You know how a plumbing company should work and how to treat people. My dad was a plumber. My grandfather was a plumber, and so were 3 of my uncles. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning does it right. They are the epitome of customer service. They're locally owned and operated, and Josh and his team, well, they put customer service as the top priority for Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. I've never known a business owner more intent on making it a great experience for people. And let's face it, when you have a plumbing crisis, well, that could be traumatic. They specialize in service and replacement issues for your home or for your business. They've been to my home and fixed 3 different plumbing issues I had in the house. If you need them, they're to help. Online at franklinplumbing.sc.com or call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning 799-2222. That's 799-2222. And tell them Kev sent you from The Point.
All right. No better time than now to give you the recruiting report tonight right here on Sports Talk. It is brought to you by Seawells, where tomorrow, Chris, you ought to come into town tomorrow, and since you're going to be the big dog on Sports Talk, be the big dog over at Seawells. It's a roast beef Friday.
I know it is a big day, and I was actually considering it because the Carolina Panthers are having one of their events over at USC tomorrow. They're doing a Play 60 deal where some of their players are coming down, and then they're also going to the South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice, I believe, tomorrow as well. So the Panthers are actually going to be in Columbia.
Super.
You know,
That's right
they've
next
kind
to
of
my
forgotten.
house at DJJ.
They've kind of forgotten about South Carolina in the last couple of years. So it's good for them to realize that, hey, there might be Panthers fans south of the border as well.
Josh, did you just say you used to live at DJJ?
I live about a mile away from DJJ on Broad River Road.
Okay, I got you. I misheard.
Well, I mean, my dad worked there, so. Yeah, Platt Hickens.
Did he carry a little something on the hip? He carried a little piece of metal on the hip?
No, he was a teacher. He was a teacher there. Yeah.
Bro was a teacher?
You didn't know that?
I mean, I knew he was a teacher. Didn't know he was a teacher there.
He was like a principal there. Yep.
And now he's a restaurateur.
Groucho's Deli in Blythewood. Come see us.
There you go. That'll be $5,000 for that plug, by the way. Yeah, I'll look for the check in the mail. Seawells, it's a roast beef Friday tomorrow. That's to be celebrated. It's 11 to 2. You don't want to miss it. I'll have to miss it. Chris, you shouldn't miss it. Josh, you need to get over there so you don't miss it. We encourage everybody to turn out for a roast beef Friday. And for the very best in the catering business, that too. The folks at Seawells, been at it for nearly 80 years, so they know what they're doing, and they do it extremely well. And their phone number is 803-771-7385, online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. Clemson offensive line coach Matt Luke was in Brookline, Massachusetts earlier this week to watch offensive tackle Hardy Watts, 6'6", 285 in a workout. Luke was one of several recruiters to drop in at Dexter High as the team held an open practice to give the coaches a closer look at some of their talent. The biggest draw was Watts. He said it was a great experience, great to work with his guys, helping his guys get recruited. After the workout, he met with Luke, and his family came in and met with Luke as well. He also talked to coaches from Alabama, Duke, Michigan, Boston College, and they are all telling him, that they want him, that they need him, and there's a spot for him on their respective offensive lines because he's a versatile offensive lineman that makes him very appealing to these guys. So the problem is, and this is where Clemson is a little bit stubborn, they only do 1 weekend of official visits. Dabo Swinney didn't want to do summer official visits like people started doing. He wanted to stick with the traditional in-season official visits. But he eventually came around to having 1 weekend for all his official visits in the summer. I mean, if you can make it work this way, it's a great plan. But, there are some players who have other things going on the first weekend in June, the last weekend of May, that spills over in the first weekend in June. And since you're only having 1 official visit weekend, you're not going to have a chance to get these guys in any other time in the summer. That's the situation here with Watts. He's got something going on with his school that weekend, a conflict. And so he can't make it. He might come in for a midweek if possible on an unofficial and kind of turn it into an official, or he might visit for a game this fall. So, Clemson kind of rolling the dice here that their appeal will stand out and keep them in the hunt here as he takes other official visits. Now, he hasn't set up any other official visits just yet, and he's talking to a number of schools. He plans to set these official visits in the next week or so. He's been to Clemson once before. He was there for a spring practice on March 24th, and he was really impressed. He said, quote, "I really love Clemson. I love what Coach Sweeney is about. I love what the message is from the staff and what the program is about. Clemson itself, the campus is absolutely beautiful, and the guys in that locker room are amazing as well." So that's what he had to say about Clemson. He said he would love to commit by the end of summer, but he called that a soft deadline. A lot depends on when he's able to visit Clemson. If he has to wait until the fall, then he would push that commitment date back to give him the chance to visit. That's assuming he doesn't go ahead and commit. Like he said, when it hits him, it hits him. That's assuming he doesn't go ahead and commit prior to. USC and Clemson target offensive tackle David Sanders of Charlotte going to visit Georgia again this weekend. So he went out to Nebraska last weekend. This is an unofficial. Georgia's having this thing called a scavenger hunt, where they bring in recruits, and I think they place bags full of money all around Athens. Yeah. And no, we're just kidding. Georgia would never
supply them with
that.
the cars to speed around town to find the bags of money too.
I'm telling you, I don't want to say anything like that about our neighbors to the what are they? Kind of towards the northwest. But, it's Georgia, so draw your own conclusion about what they're looking for. I mean, I'm sure they're not looking for Butterfingers in brown paper bags, I'm sure it's a little bit more substantial than Milky Ways and Butterfingers and extra cheese Doritos, Anyway, he's going back to Georgia for another visit this weekend. And Heathwood Hall cornerback Onis Konanbanny, he was offered by Auburn. And there you go with the recruiting report tonight here on Sports Talk. Try to keep you up to date with things on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and on our Twitter, use the hashtag STRecruiting. Oh, my. 5-1 Tennessee in the top of the fourth. What has happened here, sir?
Homers, and more home runs in that homer-friendly ballpark. I mentioned Christian Moore had hit 2 already to put them up 2-1. They added a 3-run home run later in the inning. Christian Moore, by the way, is a guy you probably shouldn't pitch to. As I mentioned, he now holds the single-season home run record for Tennessee. He's hit 26 this year. And, by the way, he's also their career leader in home runs with 53.
Wow.
And how about this stat that Jordan Kay of the state newspaper tweeted out a few minutes ago? Since the start of the Georgia series last week, USC pitching has now given up 14 home runs in 30 innings. That's almost hard to believe. You can't try to be that bad.
I think I would challenge that. How many did he say? Because I think Georgia
14.
Well, he must not be counting one. He might not be counting the last one, because Georgia hit 12, I believe, and Tennessee's hit 3.
Tennessee's got 3. Yep.
Yeah.
So it would be 15.
Yeah.
That's even worse.
As a matter of fact, they brought the Gamecocks to tears with that last home run.
Nice.
You like that, huh? A guy named Tears hit the home run. I guess he pronounced it Tears. Maybe it's Tears. T-E-A-R-S.
Yeah.
3-run homer makes it 5-1 as they go to the bottom of the fourth. So the Gamecocks got that 1 run in the first. They've only had 2 hits. In the game thus far. And that, let's see here. They got the homer from Petrie in the first. They went down in order in the second. They had a Brindling was hit by a pitch to lead off the third after Tennessee made a pitching change. But then the next 3 all struck out. And in the fourth, the Gamecocks got a leadoff walk, but then a double play ground ball, then a double by Reeves. Boy, that double play ground ball was painful.
No doubt.
And then LeCroy struck out. So Sounds to me like the Gamecocks are striking out a lot. Let's see. They have struck out 6 times through 4 times at the plate, and they have just the 2 hits. 8-6, Boston College leading Clemson. They're in the top of the 5th, and 2 outs, runners on 2nd and 3rd for Boston College. And Clemson's pitching, they've come on with McGovern now. After Marshall went 2 innings, gave up 3 hits, couple of runs, couple of walks, couple of strikeouts. And after Darden started, went 2 innings, gave up 4 hits, 6 runs, only 2 earned, and a couple of strikeouts. McGovern, not George, just McGovern. Hey, man, it's a Thursday night. We're up against baseball. We're a little wacky here.
I'm wondering how many of our listeners, I would think several, but I'm guaranteeing our producer has no idea who George McGovern is.
He probably doesn't.
No, I have no clue. No clue at all.
You don't need to know. He didn't win the presidency. They got out of that issue in the top of the 5th, 2nd and 3rd, 2 outs. They got out of it, so Boston College does not add to the lead. It's 8-6, middle of the 5th. Coastal Carolina 5-2, middle of the 6th. College of Charleston has won its game tonight, 14-10 over Elon. Give you some other scores. Winthrop is leading Charleston Southern 3-2. Bucks have the tying run on 2nd with 2 outs. 3-2, playing at Winthrop. Sanford beat Wofford 10-5. Louisville beat Notre Dame 5-1. LSU leading Ole Miss 5-1, bottom of the 6th. That would be somewhat beneficial for South Carolina since Ole Miss has 11 wins. If LSU wins, it'll give them 11 wins. Mercer leads the Citadel 3-1, top of the 8th. Poor Bulldogs, they are 1-17 in the SoCon. Greensboro and Upstate are 8-8 in the top of the 6th. Georgia leading Florida 7-2, top of the 6th. That would be beneficial for the Gamecocks since the Gators have 11 wins. And Virginia leading Virginia Tech 6-2, top of the 6th. Kentucky is beating Vanderbilt. This would be good for South Carolina. I mean, what I'm saying is trying to hold on to the 7th spot. It really doesn't matter, 7th spot, 8th spot, but trying to hold on to the 7th spot. This would be good for South Carolina. Kentucky leading Vanderbilt, who has 12 league wins, 7-1, bottom of the 3rd. Mississippi State with a 1-0 lead on Missouri, bottom 3. Auburn 1-0 on Alabama, top 3. Florida State 1-0 on Georgia Tech after 3. Duke leading North Carolina 2-0. That's in the top of the 4th. Pittsburgh, Miami scoreless, top of the 3rd. And Presbyterian blasted Asheville 17-0. PC having a very sweet year. That was a one-hitter. Whoever pitched for PC, a pitcher or a group of pitchers, allowed 1 hit today, 17-0. PC now 27-25 and 16-6 in the Big South. I got to believe, and I'll bring up the Big South standings here real quick, got to believe that PC is on top or near the top, if not on top, of the Big South. They are on top by a half game over High Point at 16-6. So still they got to go win their tournament to get into the NCAA tournament. But they've done it before.
Elton Pollock may be on his 2nd trip to the NCAA tournament.
They have done it before. Okay, let's go to the break, and we'll come back and update. Oh, I'm sorry to tell you, MJ cannot be with us tonight. He's got some deadlines he's trying to meet writing-wise. Remember, he writes for European outlets, so they're like 5 hours ahead, so he's got to get stuff in. For those who still have deadlines, the internet doesn't have a deadline. So MJ will be with us tomorrow night, though. We plan for him to be with us at 6:30 to talk about the first 2 rounds of the PGA. And we'll be back to update the leaderboard.
Relax this summer with a promotional rate on select travel purchases with your Founders Federal Credit Union credit card. Now through August 31st, 6.9% APR for 6 months on qualifying purchases, including airfare, hotels, restaurants, and cruise lines. Don't Don't let interest rates slow you down this summer. Visit foundersfcu.com/travel to learn more. Not a Founders member yet? Founders has the financial tools you need and the personalized service you deserve. Stop by an office or visit foundersfcu.com to learn more about Founders and see if you qualify for membership. On March 1st, 2025, the promotional APR will revert to the effective APR as previously disclosed. Call 800-845-1644 for details about credit costs and terms. Membership required.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's CORBETT. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Cry no more.
One more score to update here. North Greenville trailing Georgia College and State University 6-2, top of the fifth. And what did you have, Chris?
The perfect season still intact.
You're keeping an eye on that.
Yes,
yeah.
You've heard Jim Tillman talk about Maryland Eastern Shore. They lost today to Sacred Heart 18-0, and that's coming off a 22-12 loss to Delaware State this past Saturday. They are now 0-46 on the year. They've got 2 games left to go to win their first game of the year and avoid perfection the wrong way.
Wow. Well, nobody won, and by the way, his name is Jacob McGovern, who entered the game for Clemson. Nobody wants to go winless, but I mean, then again, there's something to be said about going 0-48. Of course, if they were if they were a 5A football team in South Carolina, they'd still make the playoffs. Would they not?
Really good chance. There would
still
be
make
a
the
really
playoffs.
good chance.
Yeah.
They might be the only ones who wouldn't get in because they didn't beat anybody. You know, you only need to win about one game to qualify for the state playoffs in South Carolina. But yeah, that's got to be tough. And you want to talk about hitting the transfer portal? Do you take any of the players that are on that team if they want to leave because their team has been so bad?
Really? Probably not.
Unless there's sorry for those kids.
Unless there's just one guy who tears it up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Who just
they
flat
do
out
score some
tears it
runs
up.
now.
Yeah. I wanted to mention this. I retweeted this because it came out the other day. Everett Sullivan is the new head basketball coach at Eastside High School. He was named to that position just the other day. So Everett Sullivan, who was a great high school basketball player in our state, ended up going to Louisville and playing there, and then I think he went and played a little professional basketball, and has been coaching some college basketball. Now he's taking the job at Eastside High School. So back in his neck of the woods.
Yeah. Wonder how Hillcrest feels about that. You know, him going to somewhat of a rival in Greenville County.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, hey, you got to go with his jobs.
Sure.
You know, you got to go with
he was a phenomenal basketball player.
Yes, he was. Were he and Ray Allen, were they contemporaries? I'm thinking that he played at Hillcrest. Of course, Ray Allen played at Hillcrest of Sumter. I don't want to confuse the two. Were they contemporaries? I think they came down the pipe about the same time. But I'm not 100% sure on that. Take a look at the leaderboard of the PGA as we turn the corner ahead for a home here. Most everybody is in at this point in time. There's still some on the course. Xander Schauffele, 62. That's going to hold up to be your first-round lead, of course. Tony Finau at minus 665, along with Shahith Thigala, 6 under 65. Rory McIlroy's right there, 5 under 66. Robert McIntyre also at 5 under. Tom Hoge is in at 5 under 66. Tom Kim also at 5 under. Thomas Dietrich and Colin Morikawa, they are all in at 5 under. Ben Coles, Brooks Koepka, Taylor Moore, Alex Noren, Austin Eckroat. They are all in at 4 under 67. On the course at 4 under, playing the last, Scotty Scheffler. Alejandro Tosti is on the course at 4 under. He's got 2 holes to go. Mark Hubbard, 3 holes to play. He's 4 under. So those are the guys up near the top of the leaderboard. Our only state connection, well, we have a couple of state connections. Dustin Johnson, plus 273 for him. And Lucas Glover, even par 71. Tiger Woods, plus 172. Phil Mickelson, plus 374. And, of course, a lot of the talk yesterday, they had their press conferences with the chiefs of the PGA, and all the talk was about what's going to happen with Live Golf, the talk of some kind of a merger, the talk about signing this agreement with the Saudi Arabian bank to get a whole bunch of money to kind of create this new PGA Tour arrangement. A lot of controversy over that. So the future of golf, the way we've known it forever and ever, is still very much up in the air because they haven't. We've had people leave. They got these various boards that make these decisions, and we've seen like Rory McIlroy drop off the board. I think his name is Jimmy Dunn, who was the one who brokered a deal. The deal that was supposed to be done like back in December, January, that was supposed to get done, hasn't gotten done. He dropped off the board because he said nobody was listening to him. So they got, you've had a lot of turnover there. So I don't know, when they're going to resolve it and what it's going to look like when it's all resolved. I just know that people, it's like I mentioned Dustin Johnson. He still plays golf, but we never talk about him anymore.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, we just don't talk about him, and nobody's really paying attention to Live Golf. Their TV, it's like, and I love this guy. And I can't. What's his name? The commentator on the Golf Channel, the controversial commentator. He played the game for a long time. Golly, Chambly.
Yeah, Randall Chambly.
Yeah, I mean, he speaks his mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love the guy. He speaks his mind. He said last night, he goes, look, nobody's watching Live Golf. He says it's not like Live Golf has come in and turned the world upside down on golf. That's why he's a little bit astonished why maybe there's this give in to Live Golf, these accommodations that are being made, because he's like, their television ratings are in the toilet. They still
can't figure out the reason. They don't need television ratings. The players don't care.
Right.
I mean, the Saudis have more money than anybody on the planet, and they are willing to throw all of that money as we see them starting to enter into professional sports here in the United States. They'll throw money after bad money after bad money. They don't care, and the players certainly don't, or they wouldn't play on the tour. Mm-hmm. They are making more money than they could possibly make on the PGA Tour. It doesn't matter about the ratings. That's the bigger problem. They've got to find a way to come to grips with the salary gap, if you will, between playing 54 holes on the Live Tour and making $2 billion versus 72 holes on the PGA Tour. And if you get cut, you don't get paid. I mean, those are the bigger problems, not the ratings. Because you're right. I mean, I don't know where to find Live Golf except on the CW. Yeah. But when you start taking away the top players, it's like the USFL when it first started against the NFL. The one thing it had some top players. It wasn't viable very long, but when the USFL first got going, it got some of the top-notch players, and that's what made it viable. Same thing here with the golf.
Good point. So we'll see what happens with that, and you can talk with MJ in detail about that tomorrow. Mm-hmm. One last look at the baseball, and good news for South Carolina. I got good news and bad news. The good news is they've stopped the home run string by Tennessee. But the bad news is they gave up an RBI double. So it's 6-1. Good is still on the mound for the Gamecocks. He's hanging in there. He's trying to eat up some innings for sure. He has gone 4 innings, 5 hits, 6 runs, all earned. He's walked 4. He has struck out 4.
Control's been an issue. Yep.
And he's thrown 3 wild pitches. So Gamecocks are down 6-1. Clemson has tied it up with 2 runs in the bottom of the 5th. It is 8-8, and the Tigers in the 5th. You had looks like you had an error that led to runs being scored for the Tigers. So they have tied it up.
Error.
They've tied it up at 8. Coastal Carolina, bottom of the 7th at Marshall, leading 6-3. So there you go. And of course, Charleston won 14-10. Okay, I'm gone tomorrow night.
About Everett Sullivan and Ray Allen. Sullivan was actually about 4 or 5 years older than Ray.
Really?
So they may have played on the junior circuit, but they did not cross paths in high school because Sullivan graduated in 87, 88, and Ray Allen graduated in 92, 93. Because that's when he started his career at UConn in 93.
Very good. All right, I'm out of here tomorrow. What you got planned?
Enjoy. We are going to hopefully catch up with, well, I don't want to give it out until it's affirmative, but we will talk plenty of golf. We'll talk plenty of baseball on the show tomorrow night. Take phone calls, hear from Gamecock Larry if we can keep him awake. All that fun stuff. And we're going to have a special guest or two. Yes.
And you'll have George to talk golf as well. So you'll have a great show. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Chris. And thank you, Josh. Have a great night, everybody.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor